I got a knit. I got a knit. Oh my gosh, I got a knit. My beautiful, beautiful, beautiful knit. I am just purling. Hey y'all, welcome back to my channel. I'm Melissa, and this is Melissa Knits for Fun. In today's episode, I'm going to update you on my test knits and one of my regular works in progress. I have no finished objects today, but I do have some acquisitions, and it's not just yarn. And then I will give you a small update on my personal life. If this sounds like your type of fun, and you want a virtual knit night, grab your yarn, sit down, and stay a spell. Well, this week I have no finished objects, or what we routinely say in the yarn industry, or not yarn industry, but in the knitting community, what we say are FOs. Well, I'll tell you a little story after I show you this. I'll tell you a little story about FO, because it's a term that always sends me back to something that happened to me years ago whenever I was still working at Walmart. But for now, I want to show y'all something that to me is shocking and kind of amazing. Last week, if you will remember, I had to pull the needles out of my Midnight Drive test knit because I had used the wrong dye lot and I had to start all over. So last week I had barely gotten started. Well, guys, this is what they mean by a project is flying off your needles. I'll put a picture up here to show you where I was at last week. But look at this. This is flying off my needles. It's almost like that I am like Mrs. Weasley in Harry Potter and I have just cast a spell and the knitting needles are just going, because holy cow, this has knit up so incredibly fast. I literally only have a couple of more inches to do just straight stockinette, and then I will do a hem that will be this same kind of design, like the neck and the cuff. It won't take me any time at all, and I will get this off of the needle. Now, the one thing that is going to hold me back, I have to wait on some yarn. I told y'all last week I thought that I had enough that I could get this done with in the same dye lot, but I wasn't sure. Well, sure enough, I don't, because this is it. This is ball number 7, and I'm lucky if this is a half a ball. There's 150 meters per 50 grams, and I doubt very seriously this is even 25 grams. But if it is, it's only 75 meters, and there's no way it's going to knit a couple of inches, plus I think it's 3 inches or so of the hem, so quite a bit of hem, and then a tubular, or not tubular, but an Italian bind off, which the difference between Italian and tubular, at least from my understanding, is that with the Italian bind off, it's just a sewn bind off. You don't do the setup rows like you do with the tubular bind off, where you do those 2 rows that they call double knitting, where you knit one, slip one with the yarn in the front after you've done your ribbing. And then on the second row, you slip the knits and purl the purls. And then you do your sewn bind off. An Italian or sewn bind off is just the sewing part. But it takes quite a bit of yarn to do that. I got this yarn at Rito before the tariffs went in place as part of my reckless panic buy. That came in and it was in a sack, and the sack was open, and I made some really rookie mistakes. My UPS man knocked on my door and said, hey, the ends of this are open. You might want to go ahead and open it and check and see if everything's in there. Had I stopped and thought, I would have said, thanks. I'm going to take it in. I'm going to take some pictures, and if anything's missing, I'll reach out to Rito and have them start a claim. I did not. I opened it. And then I pulled all of the yarn out. Not while he was still standing there, because that would have taken too long. But I pulled all of the yarn out. I checked. I was missing some stuff. I thought I was only missing 1 ball of Black Drops Air and then like 3 balls of the gray alpaca. Apparently I was missing 3 balls of this as well. Or the gremlins in my house have eaten them, because I only had 7 balls. And I know I ordered 10. Well, when I reached out to Rito, there was nothing that they could do because they have to have visual proof. So I had to have taken a picture. UPS wouldn't allow them to submit it without that. You know, that was all my fault. I just panicked, and so I didn't get it. The good thing is the yarn's very, very cheap. It wasn't a big financial hit for me. But it did mean that I had some yarn that was missing, and now it's coming back to bite me in the butt. The good news is Lindy Hobby, who is also a hobby store over in Denmark, both these places are over in Denmark, they had no hiccup with the tariffs. After they went into effect, you just started paying 15% in addition as your VAT, as they call it over in Europe, or your tariffs, whatever you want to call it. It was a 15% duty or tax or whatever that they just add onto it, and then they ship it to you. Well, I reached out to them in the off chance that they would have this color in this dye lot. They sent me back an email that said, hey, how we handle that is you order, you request the dye lot that you need in the comments, and then if we can get that dye lot, then we will send it to you, but you also need to let us know whether we ship it if we can't get the dye lot or we cancel the order. So I said, okay, hoping that, because Drops is a pretty big company, I was hoping that their dye lots were large enough that I would be able to get this from another store. I went ahead, I placed the order. Of course, I did not just order these 3 balls because after all, I'm paying shipping, right? Woo! I need to, justify my shipping. And plus, Drops has some new colors. So next week, we'll have a little bit more yarn. I ordered a few things, and I put in the note, and I asked them, well, I am assuming, they have not sent me anything back that said yes, we did get it, but I'm assuming since it took them over a week to ship this, that they ordered it from Drops and were able to get this dye lot, and we're waiting on it. Because Lindy Hobby's really, really great. They usually ship out the very next day after I order, and it's here within a few days, a week at the most. So having to wait for over a week, that kind of indicates to me that they had to order it. Long story to tell y'all, I ran out of yarn, but I'm hoping I was able to find some more in this dye lot, or at least a dye lot that's so close that you can't tell. Worst case scenario, I do have more in another dye lot. You know, I showed you last week that I had pulled out the needles out of that part that I had started. I have that if need be to do the hem, because I think I can get a couple of inches out of this. And if I do, then all I have to do with the other color is a hem. So this will be done, provided that I get the yarn. This will be done next week with no problem. Like I said, I've just got a couple of inches left. And I want to show y'all this beautiful, and how you wear this. You fold this in, and you wear this as a turtleneck. So it's so comfortable. I'll also slap a picture up here. I have a picture of me wearing it, and I'll slap a picture up there so that you can see how it fits on the neck. But it is so pretty, and it actually, you do this little thing, and she calls it a knot, but it's a little stitch, and you can kind of see, you do have some yarn overs in here. So you have a few little, like right there's a little hole, but they're not super, super noticeable. They just make this really, really cool design. And this is one where you move the beginning of the round marker every single time. So you do this special stitch, then you do a purl, knit, purl, and you purl, or you knit through the back loop. And then you go around and you do that special stitch, and you do a purl, and you'll have 2 stitches left, and you move your beginning of the round marker to there. And then you do a couple more rows, and then you do this special row again, and you move that stitch marker. It sounds way fiddlier than it is, but it just makes this beautiful, beautiful design. And one of the girls at the shop was like, oh, that's kind of stupid that you have to move that. And I kind of thought that too, but if you actually look, because if you see, you can see how this creates a little diagonal stitch, and that's why you do it. So it's creating this beautiful little stitch pattern where you've got these diagonals. It's just beautiful, absolutely beautiful. And it is a dream to wear. So this is another one of those that I'm really excited to get off my needles, and for it to get cold enough so that I can wear it. Now, I want to show y'all something. I used to say at the yarn shop, I'd be like, oh, I don't use stitch stoppers. If they, if in my bag, if it falls off the needles, no big deal. I'll just put the stitches back on there. Well, then Miss Letha had to go and get some really, really cute little stitch markers, and I could not resist these. Cookie, right? I love Cookie Monster. He is one of my favorite Sesame Street characters. And how appropriate is he with this sweater? So I could not resist him. I also have some Oscars that aren't on anything right now. But so I've been buying these, and not just from Letha. I got some from Holst Garn as well. But I just love these, and I love it with the little blue. The other thing I wanted to show you, I put a stitch or a progress keeper on here last night because I got the sleeve finished last night, and I went and knitted on something else because I was really kind of tired of dealing with test knits. So I went ahead and switched over, and it's the object I'm going to show you today and update a little bit. And I decided whenever I picked it, no, I didn't pick it up last night. I picked it back up today. I picked it back up this morning. And in meetings, this is how much, or afternoon meetings. I didn't even knit on this during my morning meetings. It was during my afternoon meetings. This is how much I got knit in my meetings today. So I wanted to keep track of how much I got done in the little amount of time I had. So this will be done next week. This is Midnight Drive. Again, it's by Melanie Berg, and she's got some really beautiful designs. She's a German designer, I believe. And this is just beautiful, and it fits lovely. So this will be done next week. It is my almost finished object, or my almost FO. And so I know I've already told a story, so I've already gotten rid of, I've gone past the, oh, I'm just going to stick with the knitting and then I'll tell stories. This one will be a little bit different. So FO, we all, whenever we hear FO, or at least I know I do, I think finished object. Years ago, and this has been over a decade ago because I haven't been at Walmart for over a decade. I worked in technology, and I was on a team with a bunch of guys. There was me and one other girl that were on the team. We were the only girls on the team. And Walmart has a ton of acronyms. And we were talking about something, and everything was MQ and TC and IBM and this and that. We were throwing out acronyms. I don't even know what it was. And somebody said, man, we have a lot of acronyms, and said, hey, Melissa, what does this mean? And I was like, I don't know. And they said something, and I went, well, go FO, because we had talked about acronyms. And they were all like, because you can imagine what they thought FO meant. I meant find out. So I was like, oh, go FO. And then when they were like, oh my gosh, I went, no, find out, go find out. I did not mean what you think I meant. Go find out. So the running joke up until the day that I quit was, hey, Melissa, go FO. Hey, Melissa, we're going to go FO anytime that it was find out. So that's just something every time I hear any podcaster talk about my FOs, I can't help but think back to that. And it brings a really, really great, warm, memory back to me. So I'm really happy that I'm in a community where we have FOs. All right, moving along, because I'm sure that y'all are sitting here going, wow, that's a lot, much ado about nothing. But that's okay. Today, I'm going to tell you about some more test knits. As you know, I have 3 of them because I did get one done last week. And if you're interested in knowing about all my test knits from this year, I do have a short that is all of my test knits for the year. So you can see what all I have knit, or at least little pictures of it. This, I have not put a progress keeper on, and I wish that I had. I can tell how much progress I've made because there's very, very little yarn left. And last week it was a full ball. So I have knit on this. This will probably get me, I'd say maybe 3 more inches or so. And then that should get me to where that I can put the sleeves on. And then I will start the yoke. I will work on this almost exclusively while I'm waiting on the yarn once I get this to the point where I'm at the end of the other ball. I will work on this almost exclusively because I really want to get it to where that I can attach the sleeves to this. And then once I put the sleeves on here, Then I will start the yoke and I'll start the color work and I'll incorporate the sleeve stitches in and knit up and then do the collar, and then I'll be done. This one also will not take me very long once I get to that point. And then my cute little baby penguins, these actually came from Whole Scarn. And pro tip, if you do order from Whole Scarn and you decide you're going to order some of these, when they sell them as ones. So if you buy them, make sure you buy two, because I bought them thinking that it would be a pair, and it is not. They do have a little note on there now, but I thought it would be a pair. And so when they came in, I was like, what am I going to do with this? I have one. So I had to order the other one, but as you can tell by behind me, I have placed a lot of Whole Scarn orders, so it wasn't too bad. So this is where I am on this. Like I said, almost to the point of adding the sleeves, almost to the point where I've got it up to my underarms. And then this will go fairly quickly. There was something else I was going to say about this, and I have just drawn a blank. All right. If I think about it, I'll come back to it. And then last but not least, my Lucid. Oh, that was Elk Ridge Sweater, and it's by Amanda Roush. And then last but not least is my Lucid. I do have just a little bit, I've just made a little bit more progress, not a whole lot since last week, because I have been pretty much exclusively working on the Midnight Drive, because it is due on the 30th. I do have until the 22nd of October for this one. So I've got a little bit more progress, and I just think that it is coming out beautifully. I'm going to try to stretch it out here a little bit so it's not so tight. Let's not drop it off the needles. I'm going to try to stretch it out here so it's not quite so bunched up, so that you can see a little bit more. But there you go. You can kind of see the design coming out, and it is just a really beautiful yarn. I did pick up one more ball of this to make sure that I had enough, as it is a discontinued yarn and Letha wouldn't be able to order any more for me. So this is turning out really nice, and it's just so well written. This is Lucid by Turquoise Toque Designs, and it's just so well written. There was some comments in the chat about, somebody said, man, that was a lot of words. I went through however many pages, 11 pages or whatever it was before you join in the round. Yes, I agree. It is a very wordy pattern, but it's so logically written. There's like a section. It's 4 rows. You do this, and then there's another section. So for somebody like me whose mind says, I need to get to a logical stopping point, it is the perfect pattern. And that brings me to, I remember what I was going to say a minute ago about this. It brings me to the fact that, I can't believe I'm going to say this again, but I really am going to have to only have 1, maybe 2 test knits going at a time. I'm probably not going to just stop doing them, but I'm going to show y'all a picture up here. I decided a couple of weeks ago that I was going to take what I do for a living, and I was going to combine it with my knitting, and I was going to create myself what's called a Kanban board. If you are sitting there thinking, what the heck is a Kanban board? What the heck do you do for a living? Well, all I can tell you is go watch Ted Lasso. If y'all haven't watched that, go watch it. It's on Apple. Oh my gosh. It is so good, and it's what I do. It is absolutely what I do. I'm a coach. I do not have to know what my team does, how they do what they do in order to coach them. I build teams. So Ted Lasso, I mean, I'm telling you, I was watching it and I was like, oh my gosh. And then, interestingly enough, I wonder if anybody can guess who my favorite character is on there. I'll reveal that next week. But who's my favorite character on Ted Lasso? Well, I decided that I was going to combine my work with my love, and I would build myself a Kanban board. And I'll put a picture up here, and you will see how out of control my whips are, because holy cow, there's a lot of them. And as you look at it, the purple sticky notes are my test knits, and the yellow sticky notes are my regular whips. It is out of control. So I am going to use what I teach everybody, and I'm actually going to get these whips under control, because at this point they're a little overwhelming to me. It's just too much. I've cast on too many things. So once I get these 3 test knits out of the way, then I'm going to focus on finishing one of my whips and getting it moved forward instead of going back and forth between them. The exception to that will be the kids' dresses and the top, and then the little dress for the new one that's coming in January. I will need to get those out of the way, and I'll probably need to multitask and do those together. But other than that, I'll just have one other whip that I'll be working on. And then, as I said, 1 to 2 test knits. I can't do this 4 test knits at once again with these timelines, because I have been just like, I got a knit, I got a knit, oh my gosh, I got a knit. Luckily, I am able to knit in my meetings. So, I would like to know what your interest level is on me doing a video log or a vlog on me knitting a project from start to finish, and how much time I get to knit at work in meetings. So give me a little feedback on that. And then I will show y'all, I worked very briefly, because as a reward to myself for getting this other sleeve done and all that on the midnight drive, I wanted to work on my favorite whip. Oh, my Pretty in Pink, my Sorrel by Wool and Pine, my beautiful, beautiful, beautiful knit. So I picked it up last night, and I did put my progress keeper. This is how much I got knit between last night, and I knit on this in some of my morning meetings. And so, I mean, it's not a lot, but this is fingering weight held with mohair. So it is quite a bit. And since I didn't start knitting on it until about 10:30 last night, and I only knit on it for about 30 minutes, and then this morning I got about this much done. But I've shared this before, and just look how luscious that is. All of the halo, and it's just so stunning. It's Letha's yarn with soft silk mohair by Knitting for Olive. I've got it backwards because it actually goes like this. And I am still purling. I'm not knitting, I'm purling away. And then I have these little strawberries on here, again from Holskarn. And I figured those went well with the pink. But I am just purling. I am purling these. I can purl and I can knit without looking. And so I am just purling, 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 purling. And I'm so happy that I did, because I had a couple of places where I had missed picking up the mohair, and it made like a little stranded thing, and I found it a couple of rows after I had done it. So it was really easy to spot, and I was able to just go back and fix it, instead of, like I said, waiting until I turn it right, turn it this way, because this is the right side. It is a reverse stockinette. And then you turn it around and you've missed picking up some of that. Now you've got all these little strands everywhere, and that would drive me insane. So with this, if you don't mind purling, I would just disregard in the pattern where it tells you to turn it inside out and knit. I'd just purl. Just purl. I've shared my feelings about purling before. Purl, people, purl. Just purl. Because you cannot get better at purling if you don't ever do it. And I'm just going to ask, are you really a knitter if you can't purl? And I do know there are people who can't purl because all they've ever done is knit in the round. So that's my salty opinion about that. Maybe unpopular, I don't care. It's my opinion. So with that, I'm done with all of my whips. I have not prepared a weekly question, so I'm going to put this on y'all. I would love somebody to go out there and just put a question in the chat, something that y'all want to know. I will answer it, and hopefully other people will too. So drop a line in the chat, put a question in there, something that you want to know, and see how many people will answer. The answer to last week's question about what do we call the body stockinette, the in the round body that goes on forever, I've had some really cute things that have come back. One was body desert, because a desert is, a little bit rougher to be in than an island. I like that. At the yarn shop, one of the girls said the body, what is that thing called? The traffic circle, roundabout. The body roundabout, all right? We just go round and round and round. I thought that was pretty funny. But hey, I'll tell you, I kind of really like body desert. That's probably what I'm going to start saying is, hey, I'm living in the body desert. We'll see. Maybe it'll take off. Maybe it won't. People might look at me like I've absolutely lost my mind, and they might not be wrong. So that is where I'm at. I have got some progress made. Don't have anything finished. Next week I will have the midnight drive, provided that I get the yarn in time. I'll have the midnight drive done. Probably not gonna have anything else done, but we'll see. I plan on just pretty much knitting this weekend, and so I don't have anything else going on. So we'll see what happens there. I will definitely, like I said, if I get the yarn, I'll have the midnight drive done. So with that, I'm going to pivot and I'm going to go to my acquisitions. And if this is where you leave me every week because you don't care about acquisitions and you don't care about my personal life, thank you very much for coming and hanging out with me. And like, subscribe, share, comment, do all of the wonderful YouTube things to help me grow. And I will see you next week. For those of you who are staying, I have some pretty acquisitions this week. I have a couple of things. I shared with you last week, so we'll start with the books. I shared with you last week that Ruth Loves to Knit shared that Jamieson and Smith had some new books out. And Worsit Inspo, it's wool inspiration is what it says on the inside if you look. If you pull it open and right, wool inspiration. But they've got volume 1 and volume 2. I was really intrigued by these books and I really wanted to get them. And I got off of here from recording and I went in the living room and I sat down and picked up my iPad and I was going to start editing. And I noticed I had an email and I opened it up and it was from Woolly Thistle and they had these in stock. And they weren't bad. They were like $14 or something. Well, Mama put them in the cart. Both of them went in there and immediately I ordered them and they came in yesterday. Now, how sad is that? That we're talking a week in the U.S. shipping. And my yarn that I ordered from Finland, I ordered it on Saturday. I got them today. So, and it didn't ship till Monday. Okay, our post office is horrible. But this is volume 1. And I will show you what they've done is they've gone in and they've taken pictures around. Like this one is Lerwick Harbor. And they've taken and they kind of had some inspirations of colors that would kind of show that. And colors that go together. I was so excited because I have several colorwork sweaters. Like my fantasy knit of the Henry VIII that I want to knit so terribly bad by Alice Starmore, but I don't want to use those yarns. I don't want to be like everybody else. I want my own color palette. So this is going to help me because some of them have a lot and they are some of my colors. Like I would really like. Now, while I love this and I would knit something out of this color palette, I wouldn't do the Henry VIII. I think that would be just too loud and bold for it. But I would do some of these others. Like this, I might do it in this. I probably wouldn't. That's a little bit too muted for me, but oh, look at these. And that's stunning pictures too. I don't have to just look at the yarn. The pictures are gorgeous too. That's volume 1 and then this is volume 2. And as you can see, they just carry on with it. And you get some really good pictures. I want to go to Shetland so bad. I want to go over there. I want to go to Scotland and go to Shetland. I mean, like nobody's business. One of these days I'm going to make it over there for Shetland Wool Week. So I got those two. And then, and I've shared with y'all multiple times, I love a good sale. I am a sucker for a good sale. So I got an email from Toque Wool, their online store, and it's like TITTI something something. I will put the link down below. But it is Toque Wool's online shop. And they don't just carry their own yarn. They do obviously carry their own yarn, but they also carry Filcolana, they carry a Sayer, they carry Sandisgarn, some Cecia, they carry the new Lina Novita, the new yarn by Lina magazine. They carry that. They carry, I think they have some Lobby Enemy. They have a couple of other brands that I'm not super familiar with. They have some Gopard. So they have a lot of the standard, like very Finnish, Danish, Scandinavian, Norwegian, that area of the world. They carried the yarns from over there. Well, we cannot get Filcolana in the US. You have to order it from somewhere else. The closest that you can get it is Canada. I got an email. They had 15% off of everything. And so I decided I needed some Filkle on a mohair. I have plans for all of this. This right here, I'm going to hold double, and I'm going to make, I think it's called Daria Blouse by Valentina Knits, and I'll put pictures up. It calls for a double, holding mohair double, and this is the color I want to do, and this is 213. I think the name of it is Fuchsia, and it's just beautiful. So I already have one strand of this, so I got 13 more, and it is, the camera's blowing it out really bad. It is a much deeper, more plummy, just really, really, really pretty color. Let me hold up the bag of it and see if it, yes, the bag is protecting it a little bit. It is more this color, and you can kind of see how different that looks, right? It is more this color, absolutely. This really pretty color. So I'll be holding that double whenever I get to where that I can cast something else on. I got 4 of these, 5 of these, because I already have one, and this is pine. It's called Deep Pine, I believe. It's color number 347, and I'm holding this with an Onling sport weight in a green that just is almost a perfect match. And I don't have a specific sweater. There was something I was going to swatch for, one of the sweaters. I think it's a woolen pine sweater that is a sport weight held with a mohair. And I'm going to do that out of this color. And then finally, I shared in one of my first episodes, it was whenever I was talking about, I think it was episode 3, where I was talking about all of the mohair cones that I have that are back here. Most of them are down in here. And I was going to use, let me grab the brown. I was going to use, instead of doing a kind of peachy and brown color for the mohair sweater that I'm going to do, it's a Rowan sweater. I think it's by Martin Story. I won't swear to that, but I'll put it up here with some information. And I just decided I didn't like any of the blues, so I'm going to hold, this is going to be my blue. This will be the main color, and this will be the contrast, so the dark will be the main color. And I'm going to do that. Now, that is all the yarn I ordered. My friend Dana, on the other hand, ordered some others. She got a bunch of Essayer mohair and some, I think it was Gapard cotton linen. So we placed a fairly good sized order. It came with through DHL, and there were no extra fees. The DHL shipping apparently covered all the duties and everything else, because there were no fees. I didn't have anything else that I had to order, so we got a really good deal. This was, I mean, I can't even get this here, so it doesn't matter how much it would be here. I can only get it overseas, so I got this. It was on sale, and it was a nice price. And then the Essayer that Dana got was about half the price of what you can get it over here in the U.S. So we bought that, and that's it for the acquisitions this week. I will have a few more next week, because like I said, I had to get some yarn and wasn't just gonna, you know, pay shipping for 3 balls of yarn, or actually 5. I bought 5 balls of this. For 5 balls of yarn, I wasn't just gonna pay shipping for 5. So I did get a few of different drops yarns in the new colors, because I wanted to see what those look like before I invest in a sweater quantity. And yes, I do realize I'm out of control, but I do have plans for all of this. And while y'all are looking at all of this going, oh my gosh, you'll never be able to knit all of that. Unless I die early, I will be able to. I do about 25 tops, and that's not including other projects like baby stuff and all that. I do about 25 tops a year. So I will bust through this pretty quickly, this stash that I have. And as I said, I'm not buying anything else after I retire, because my discretionary funds will go to travel. So I will not be buying yarn to, you know, add to my stash or to cast something on. The only exception to that might be if I wind up going somewhere and staying for 6 months and I can't take 6 months worth of yarn with me. I would just buy what I needed there so I could knit there. But that would be the only exception. I don't foresee myself going anywhere for 6 months. We'll see what happens, right? 11 years from now when I retire, who knows? Maybe I will. Maybe I'll go and I'll be like my friend. There's another Melissa on my team at work named, she's also, her last name starts with an M. I might be like her and become a digital nomad and just wander the country or the world. But we'll see what happens. So with that, I am going to switch things to my personal update, and don't have a whole lot to report this week. Last week, y'all know, last Saturday was my birthday. I had a great birthday. The ladies at the yarn shop, oh my gosh, Y'all outdid yourselves. I wound up getting up late. I'm blaming my team because I didn't know anything about Ted Lasso as of last week. And my team at work was like, you have to watch this. You have to watch this. Oh my gosh, it's the best coaching movie. You have to watch this. Well, I was up till 2 a.m. watching Ted Lasso last Friday night. So I was pretty tired. I didn't actually get to sleep until after 3. So I overslept. And I didn't get to the yarn shop until about 30 minutes after I normally would get there. Worked out well because they had a card, so people were able to sign it. One of the ladies got several cheeses and crackers and all of that. And we had a little cheese board. They had a cake for me. They had a card that they had all signed. I walked in and they all started singing happy birthday. And then a little bit later, Go sang happy birthday to me again because she wasn't there when they sang the first time. And then Dana, my friend Dana, who ordered yarn with me, she also had me a card and had a couple of little gift cards for me. So, woo, I'm going to be getting some acquisitions again, but it'll be at Letha's with a gift card. And Dana and I actually went over and got some cheese. So I got a little bit of cheese at our cheese shop. And I've been eating on that this week. Other than that, there just hadn't been a whole lot that we've done. It's Wednesday again as I'm recording, so Shauna's going to come over. Tea. Michelle and I and her daughter Victoria went to tea at a local place here. I'm not going to say the name because I don't want to badmouth the business. I will never step foot in there. And it is a restaurant. This was a special thing. They do tea, I guess, every once in a while on a Sunday. I'm glad I went there for tea because I won't go there for... And they're expensive. They're a pretty expensive restaurant. I won't go eat there. The food was not good. The service sucked. Like, they never described to us what we had. Our menu, they told us there have been some changes, but your waiter or waitress will let you know what those were. They came and dropped off the tea stuff and never came back. We had to flag them down. Another waiter, it wasn't even our waiter, had to flag them down to ask for sugar and cream. They didn't come back until they cleared the table for us. They didn't have anything but fruity teas. Michelle does not drink fruity teas, so that was kind of disappointing. If you're going to do a tea, you need to have at least one unflavored tea, like a really standard tea, a black tea, a green tea, an Earl Grey, which is technically flavored, but at least it's a fairly standard tea. But something that's not an herbal, fruity, frou-frou tea. And I was okay with, I had to get chamomile because I didn't want caffeine. I'm okay with the fact they only had one that was caffeine free. But the overall experience was not good, and we paid $60 a person for this. I will never go back. I not just for tea, I just won't go back, period, because if this is an example of how they do things and the quality of their food, I will not step foot in there again. Having said that, we did enjoy our time together, so it was not all for naught. But then I went up there to pay, and I'm still salty enough about this. I may be changing banks. I was pretty mad. I went up there to pay, and the guy came back out and said, your card said, contact your bank. I was like, okay. Thank God I have a credit card, and that the only thing I have isn't a debit. That's not all I have is my debit card. So I was able to give him a credit card. I paid. I went on about my business. The lady was like, yeah, my debit card did this last week. It wouldn't run through our system, so it might just be our system. So I decided I'd stop. I needed to pick up some bread, so I stopped at our local Dollar General and picked up some bread. And I had out my debit card, and then I had the credit card back up, and I ran it, and I knew it kept saying processing, 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 processing. And the guy said it kicked one that said, what was it that it said? Withdrawal amount exceeded. Okay, this was $14, and I had well over $14 in there. I mean, I just gotten paid 2 days ago. So I said, okay, thanks. Used my credit card again. Got out to the car, called the bank. Got put into an automated queue, tried to talk to somebody live, and kept going to the customer service center that said, our hours are Monday through Friday. Or maybe Monday through Saturday. There was nobody there. Michelle's husband works for this bank. He said, yeah, they're not manned unless you call I think it was the hotline for fraud. So I went and looked up that phone number, and it kicked me back to the same place. So come Monday morning, I called them. I was hot because they kept my money hostage all weekend. And oh my gosh, what if I didn't have any other way to pay? What if a debit card was it? What if I was one of these people that don't even have a credit card for an emergency? Because I technically do not need a credit card. I can pay all my bills with my debit card. I have a credit card for various reasons, but I have a credit card. Thank God I do. Because what if I didn't have any other way to pay, and then I couldn't even call the bank and get it taken care of? So I wound up getting in touch with them Monday. And the whole thing was because I tried to order my Lindy hobby using Apple Pay, and it had denied it. The transaction had failed. So I just went and paid with PayPal. No big deal. No fuss, no mess. I try not to give my numbers out to places overseas, not because I don't trust Lindy Hobby or Rito, but because they're overseas and I try to kind of protect my financial information. So I was using Apple Pay. This happened on the 10th. My card got locked on the 14th. 4 days. So if they were really worried that somebody had stolen my credit card and was trying to buy stuff from Denmark, man, they gave them 4 days to go do it with. But that was the whole thing. And then I had to wait up to 2 hours to get it turned back on. Oh, I was so mad. I filed a formal complaint. I'm still mad enough that I may pull all my money out. And I mean, they won't care. I'm not this huge, person that, makes them a lot of money, but it's just the principle. And if I pull it, I will have, both my boys will pull it as well. So they'll lose 3 customers. Don't know, maybe I'll calm down, but I was pretty hot. So that was my weekend. And then, like I said, this week, not a whole lot going on. Michelle and I are talking about maybe taking a little weekend trip somewhere, because I'm trying not to take off. As I said, I don't get paid if I take off. I've pretty much made the decision I'm not going to go to Boston. And I did let Teresa know. It's more than just the expense of going there, because there is expense going there, right? There just is. You can't travel anywhere without there being some expense. But it's more than just that. It's also because it more than doubles. My knitting retreat is about $400, and that's not bad at all for a Thursday, Friday, Saturday, and then we leave on Sunday. Not bad. Happy to pay it all day long. That includes food and everything. It's fantastic. But if you add to that I have 2 days that I'm not going to get paid for, and I make more than $400 a day, that's a lot of money that I would be losing. So this year, with things like they are, that are up in arms, I'm just not comfortable doing it. So I may try to go maybe in the summer when Teresa's off, and I could take a little bit of time off, take a day or 2 here or there, and maybe we can go do something. I don't know. I'll see what next year looks like. And then also the finding out if we can become full-time employees. Yes, we can. And he's my account manager. He's not really my boss, but he does approve my timesheets and stuff. We had a conversation today. We had our first one-on-one, and he was like, I fully expect that the client's going to poach y'all, and we're ready for that. And if that's what you want to do, he said, I make a horrible employee. I'm a much better consultant, whereas I am a wonderful employee. I love being an employee. I love having a work family, and I am a great employee. I'm a much better employee than I am a consultant, because I'm always worried about a contract not being signed or whatever. So I really am looking forward to hopefully being poached. They're not going to poach me next week, right? It'll be a while, but that's fine. That's fine. I'm covering this stuff for 18 months. So hopefully somewhere in that 18 months, because this should be a 3 to 4 year gig as a consultant. Worst case scenario, I stay as a consultant. I have a 3 to 4 year gig, and then I'm looking for something else. And then I've only got 7 years I've got to cover till retirement. But hopefully, within the next 18 months or so, they'll poach me and I'll get to become an employee again. So we'll see what happens there. And with that, guys, I live a very unexciting life. I'm just going to go knit. In fact, I'm going to get off here. I'm going to do a little bit of editing, but I'm also going to knit. I'm going to try to finish out that ball on the midnight drive, and from there I'll probably pivot to my little pretty in pink, because it is so pretty. And I do want to get it done. But I am going to really work on focusing on getting my cards on that Kanban board I showed you earlier. And how that works is you move those stickies, and I've got different things up there that are like cast on, working on the neck and the yoke. Then there's the body, sleeves, finishing, etc., etc. And I'm going to work on getting those moved done, and really work on getting that tone down and get it to where that I just have my summer knits left, and those will hibernate until closer to summer. And I will work on fall and winter knits and get some things done. Probably do a couple of test knits here and there and do other things that I want to work on. So maybe next week I'll have something else. I'll have a question for y'all about what y'all think I should finish first. And I'll give y'all a couple of examples, and I'll show y'all where I'm at and see what y'all think. So I hope everybody has a great week. And if you haven't checked out my short on my test knits, go check that out. And if you are new here, again, welcome. And if you've stayed with me this long, again, thank you so much, because you've got a lot of other options. And like, subscribe, share, comment, do all the YouTube-y things. And I will see you next week. Bye.